Kia ora te whānau, no mai hoki mai. Welcome back to On The Record with Ray, a Play It Strange podcast. I'm your host, Ray, award-winning artist, producer, engineer, and proud Play It Strange alumni. Each episode goes behind the scenes of the Aotearoa music industry, breaking down the tricky stuff so you can better understand your corner of the music scene. Let's get into it. In this episode, we're talking all things music production. Specifically, how to get started if you're a total beginner. We'll cover at-home studio setups, recording demos, the gear you do and don't need, and how producers and songwriters can work together. Joining us in the studio for this kōrero is the legend herself, Emily Wheatcroft-Snape. Now I get to do the whole bio thing while you sit there. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. Emily is a freelance recording, mixing, and mastering engineer based in Tāmaki, Makaurau. Emily has 2 Aotearoa Music Award nominations under her belt for Best Engineer in 2024 and 2025, alongside longtime collaborator Amelia Murray, aka Phaser Days. She's worked on music releases for artists including Phaser Days, Teeks, Stan Walker, Benny, and Lord, and is also the recording engineer for many movies and TV show soundtracks. Emily has her own production space on the fringe of Auckland CBD and regularly records out of Roundhead Studios, Parachute Music, and Big Fan. And if that wasn't enough, beyond engineering, Emily releases music under her artist project, M, documenting Tāmaki Makaurau's soundscape in her Auckland Sounds project, and leads Record Enable, an initiative supporting gender diversity and technical music roles. And she's produced many Play It Strange tracks over the years. Sheesh. As a big bio. Kia ora, Emily. Thanks so much for coming in for the kōrero. How are you feeling today?
Kia ora, thanks for having me. That was a really long bio.
Yeah, well, you do a lot of cool things, don't you? All right, cool. So today we're going to talk a little bit about audio engineering skills and producer skills. A lot of us get confused about this. So before we start, can you please explain what the difference is between a producer and an engineer?
I think in the modern context, they're pretty similar. But if we kind of zoom it back to maybe like the 80s or the 70s, the producer was the creative lead of a music project and would be working with the artist to help achieve the artist's vision for the project. And so the producer would be like hiring everyone else who worked on it. They'd be booking the studio, managing the budget, and helping really achieve the artist's vision for the project. Whereas the engineer was just the person in the studio who was miking things up and saying, okay, the producer wants the drums to sound like big 80s drums, so I'm going to use recording techniques to make the drums sound that way. So that's the difference, is that the producer is generally your creative lead and your engineer is the person that's doing the recording.
True.
Or mixing or mastering.
Okay, so that was in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Has that changed now today?
Like, the roles are the same. It's just that you might have one person that does both of those things.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of the time, you might not be having to mic up a drum kit or whatever. It might just be you're just making beats and stuff in the computer and doing some vocals.
Yeah, totally.
Which is a whole different ballgame. Cool. So if you're a Play It Strange artist, if you're an emerging artist working in the studios for your first couple of times, do you think it would be more likely that the producer and the engineer is going to be the same thing, or yeah?
Yeah, so for a Play It Strange context, your producer and your engineer and your mix engineer will actually be all the same person.
Okay, cool.
But as you develop in your career, you may find that you have just a producer that you work with, and then you go into a studio and you work with a recording engineer, and then you hire a mixing engineer to mix a song, and those are all separate people.
Or you might figure out that you yourself become the producer.
Yeah.
And start organizing everything and learning how to get onto the DAWs and all that stuff, which we'll talk about soon.
Great.
All right, first and foremost, let's start with engineering then. For someone who's never recorded music before, what's the easiest way to get started? Do I have to buy heaps of flash gear to get going?
You really don't. It's pretty easy to get started in this day and age. If you have an Apple computer, then that will have GarageBand on it, and you can just get recording straight away on that.
It just comes with it straight away, doesn't it?
Just comes with it, and you can record using your computer, like your laptop microphone, and record stuff really easily. You can record on your phone. There's lots of apps and that kind of thing.
BandLab, I've heard some cool ass stuff just made on BandLab, which is like a free phone beat making and recording app.
Yeah, so it can be really easy. If you're on a Windows computer, it's a little bit harder. You might want want to use something like Fruity Loops or Audacity, are the free ones.
Okay. FL Studio, that's free?
Yeah. Oh,
Another
is it?
one. Is it? Is it free?
I think
I'm not
it's
sure.
a free version.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
You know, entry level.
Yeah.
Or Audacity's the
Audacity.
extra free one.
Yeah,
That's
I remember
what
that
I learned
one.
on.
Yeah, you learned how to.
That was my first DAW.
Cool. Yeah, the thing I like about DAWs is that, like, even if you learn on something like Audacity, like, there's a bit of crossover, right, between, like, learning on Audacity and then jumping to another one.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they're all kind of different, but they've all got similarities.
Oh, there's absolutely crossover between all of them. And once you learn one, it's much easier to learn others. Other DAWs include Pro Tools, Ableton, Studio One, Reaper. There's lots of options, so it's just about figuring out what works for you.
And so just breaking it right on down, what does DAW mean?
It means Digital Audio Workstation.
Ooh.
So it's
Sounds flash. Or DAW. Sometimes we say DAW, don't we?
Yeah. It's DAW, Digital Audio Workstation. It's basically the software that you record and produce in.
Gotcha. So it's the thing on the computer that turns the audio, turns all the pretty little sounds we're making and puts it on the screen, and then we can edit it and make a song out of it, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, so GarageBand is the entry level of Logic. So you can import a GarageBand session into Logic.
Ooh, good to know.
I don't think you can do it the other way. But so it is a really good one to like get your bearings on, and then once you are a bit more established, to move to Logic is a good option.
Yeah, so these are Mac specific programs.
Yeah.
But I think it is also important to note that, like you said, you don't necessarily need a Mac. For a lot of people, Mac is harder to access. I think I started using my mum's PC when I started making beats and producing. Like, I just found a program called Mixcraft that's probably like super outdated. But yeah, like you said, there's FL Studio, there's Audacity that you can use on Microsoft computers as well. What sort of skills should people prioritize developing when they're getting into engineering or producing?
Ooh.
That's a big question. There's a lot of different
really
skills.
Hard. I'd say the main one is to get your recording levels right.
Yeah.
And to get like the quality of what you're actually recording to be good. Because if you can capture a good idea as it happens, it saves you a lot of grief. Later on. Like, there's no reason you couldn't like use your original demo vocals if they sounded really good. I think that's a really big one. And then I think beyond that,
I don't know, gain stage, for example.
Yeah, so it's just like good recording practice, I guess, is like a main one.
Yeah.
And I guess sort of knowing about the structure and arrangement of songs is really important. Knowing what all the different parts of a song structure are, and then how you want them to flow.
Yeah, even like super basics, like learning, finding out like the BPM of the song.
Totally.
Like, you're starting a project on your DAW.
Yeah.
You want to find out what tempo the song's at so that your project's in the right tempo.
Yeah, and what meter as well.
Meter.
Is it just in 4/4? Is it in 3/4? Is it in 6/8?
That's something I don't have to think about because all my songs are 4/4.
But I know that especially a lot of Play It Strange artists really like to push their songs in terms of like the meter that they're using, the feel that they're creating. And so to have a good awareness of that and a good awareness of the tempo.
And then you can set that up in the DAW, right?
And it means that you know, once you kind of know what that is, you're able to create better with the song. I think some of the problems that I've had when recording people has been that they don't fully maybe understand the feel of the song they're creating, and then they come up against that rub. And then as soon as we say, actually, the song's in 6/8, and we make decisions around that, then the whole song becomes much easier to make.
That's true. Yeah, we talked about a little bit about that in another earlier chat about having good reference tracks, about knowing where your track sits and making sure that you're in that realm rather than trying to make your song something that it's not.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Yeah, so you got BPM. You also want to figure out the key of the song.
Yeah, and the chords that are in that
helps.
Yeah.
Having all this kind of knowledge helps out big time, especially if you start to, get auto-tune involved and stuff like that. You want to have your keys right, and you want to have those
or even just
down.
like for your song structure, you might say, I want to change the chords in the bridge.
Yeah.
If you know what key your song's in, then it's much easier for you to know what chords to change to straight away.
That's true. And if you don't know how to figure out the key of the song, I'm sure one of your friends will know how to figure it out.
Yeah. Or the engineer that you're working with.
Yeah. That's right. So say you're spending a bit of time getting to know your DAW or DAW of choice, but now you're overwhelmed with all the gear out there. You know, you see pictures of Flash Studios with all these different knobs and everything like that. Like, what would you say are the bare essentials for someone wanting to purchase their first pieces of audio gear and just get started at home?
The main sort of things for me that I think are really important are kind of the places where, this will sound really nerdy.
Nah, let's get nerdy.
Basically, like where there's a conversion of energy. So sound waves.
It's not nerdy at all.
Sound waves get converted to electricity in a microphone. So you need that to make stuff. So you need your microphone.
You need a microphone.
You need your cable that plugs your microphone into either your preamp, which we can talk about in a second, or straight into your computer. Is another
Which would
option.
be a USB mic?
Yes. So either your cable that plugs your microphone into your computer via a USB thing, or into your interface. And then in your interface, you are doing that gain staging like you mentioned earlier. So you're turning up the level of the microphone. And also in your interface, it is converting that electrical energy into binary code, which is what your computer uses.
Into the ones and zeros.
Into the ones and zeros.
That's it.
So you also want to have that conversion. So that conversion can either be the interface or the cable for your USB.
That still boggles my mind, though, that a cable can do that, whereas some mics you need an interface to do that.
I know, it's crazy.
I'm not going to ask you the science of that, but that's fine. So what is the difference? Why would someone get a USB plug-in microphone versus have a microphone into an interface into their computer? What's the pluses and minuses there?
So the interface is generally better because the quality of the conversion will be higher.
Okay, cool.
So it'll be a better sound overall.
Yeah.
It also means that you can plug in multiple microphones at the same time if you have
Handy.
2 plugs into the interface.
Yeah.
And also out of the interface, you can plug into speakers and you can plug into headphones.
There you go.
Yeah. So that's also where you'd want to maybe, buy equipment as well, is buy some headphones.
Yeah.
And if you have a space, some speakers as well.
Yeah, and that's right. Like if you're getting started, you don't even necessarily need the speakers too, right? Because you can just do it all in your headphones if you need to. But yeah, an important part of the interfaces too is that they have a different sound card, right? That's separate from the computer. If you're just plugging your headphones straight into the computer, the music's not gonna sound as good as if your headphones are plugged into an interface. Is that correct?
I actually don't know.
Well, as far as I know, that's a thing, because it's got a different, like just what you're saying of converting the audio into electronic ones and zeros. When you're going the other way, converting the ones and zeros into audio, then going out through an interface has a higher quality.
Yeah.
And the interfaces don't knock you back too much. You can get good Scarlett ones for like a couple $100.
Yeah.
I use a Polo one. Like, there's some good options there, right?
Yeah. It can cost a little bit of money. If you don't have a whole lot, you can just have your USB microphone and your earbuds coming straight out of your laptop if you absolutely have
That's right. And phone mics.
And phone mics.
Phone mics are pretty good.
It's doable. When I was a student, I just did my best. And that was,
And that's the thing, like, learning how to record even with a phone mic or whatever, like it's still gonna help you get your head around a DAW, right? So that when you get into the studio situation with a producer or an engineer, you've got more of that knowledge of what a DAW looks like and how to, get in there and help with your song, right?
My only thing I would say is that it is really important that when you are recording, and this might be somewhere else, when you are recording, make sure that like, if you're recording into a microphone, make sure you're wearing headphones. Don't just be playing out of your laptop speakers and singing
good to
into a
know.
microphone at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. We've got our computer. We've got a mic, be it a USB mic or going into an interface. Where should people be setting this up at home?
Preferably in like a quiet space in your house.
That makes sense.
You want to close a window if you can. You'd be surprised at how easily cicadas can permeate through everything.
Don't set it up in the room right next to the street.
Or the crying baby. Yeah.
True.
So like a quiet room in your house. Preferably there's some furnishings in there, so you maybe like have a couple rugs and some curtains and stuff, so it's not too echoey. If you like clap in the room and you hear like a lot of echoes, that might not be ideal.
That's it. I was just going to say, you're always the clap test. If in doubt, do the clap test.
Yeah.
If it sounds, then that's probably not the best room.
Go to a different room. Yeah. Don't use your bathroom. Go somewhere else.
I think my first setup at home was into a wardrobe with like one of my mattresses like up against the door, making like this wardrobe mattress vocal booth.
Yeah.
You must have had a few setups like that as well.
I think there was a few times where I would just go into my normal wardrobe where my clothes were.
Yeah.
It's pretty dead in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. But otherwise, I just do my best.
Other times I've been on the road doing recording and stuff in hotel rooms that are super acousticy, and I'll just like put a whole big blanket over myself and record my vocals in that. It just doesn't feel good. It's pretty stuffy, but like it actually it does the job. So you got to work with what you got.
Also, sometimes I have noise. I have life in my recordings.
Cool.
Yeah, in my next couple of my next recordings I got coming out, my cat features really quietly.
Shut up, the cat.
Look, he's meows.
Does he get a feat?
Oh, he should. He really should.
He should. I'll make sure Mike from APRA has your cat registered. As you may know, the Play It Strange competitions don't take quality of recording into account in the judging process, but some students decide to submit pretty full-fleshed out demos. Can you talk a bit about demos?
A demo is basically the first idea of a song. So it can just be you strumming guitar and like singing the first version of your lyrics. Or if you've started on your DAW with like Logic drummer and developed it from there, it can just be the first version of that.
Yeah.
And generally it's just like initial ideas. You're not necessarily honing into sounds or anything too much. It's just, this is the idea of the song.
Just to give people an idea of what it is.
Yeah, you would re-record quite a bit of it. You'd redo your vocals. You'd maybe say, I like those chords, but I don't like the sounds I've got. You'd maybe get a real drummer, that kind of thing. So yeah, the demo is, like you were saying, it doesn't have to be really amazing to submit to Play It Strange because it's all about ideas.
Yeah.
But it can be really cool to stretch that muscle. And sometimes the production is part of the song writing.
That's right.
Yeah.
So a demo could just be something you've recorded on your phone, just on the Voice Memos app.
Totally.
Or it could be something that you've maybe just recorded at school setup or your home studio setup, right?
Yeah, totally.
As long as it's just something that's not the final version of the song.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And how often do you think elements from the demo actually make it into the final version of the song? Is that something that still happens for, both emerging artists and established artists?
For me, it definitely still happens.
Cool.
Because sometimes you have a flow and the ideas you have are what the song are.
Yeah.
So that's not out of scope, but it is always good to evaluate because sometimes I think, those vocals are perfect for this song. And then I'll think, I'll just give them a re-record and just see. And then the new vocals are always so much better.
That's it. Yeah, I think the important thing there is to try it.
Totally.
And if you get a better version, then totally go with the better version.
Yeah.
I think a lot of artists, we do suffer sometimes from demo-itis.
Yeah.
When it's what we call it when you get super attached to the demo and super attached to like the phone recording that we don't want to change it at all.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, when we do make those changes and we do re-record and we do re-record the guitar in the studio and we re-record the vocals, it ends up sounding a lot better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I view the songs, a lot of my songs as like having an age. Where I'm like, this song is still like a kid at the moment, or the song has become a teenager.
Cute.
It's like figuring
Our
itself
song babies.
out. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now the song's like at university. It really kind of knows what it is.
That's funny. It's about to have its graduation now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then that helps me sort of figure out at what stage it's at.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I like that. So when we're doing Play It Strange, submitting demos, that's what, like primary school?
Yeah. Yeah, the song's an entity.
Yeah. And then you're a finalist and you release the song, that's the graduation day?
Totally.
Gotcha. I love it. What are some common mistakes people make when first getting into recording? And do you have any secret tips and tricks that, changed the game for you when you were starting out?
I think one of the common mistakes is almost leaning on your references too much
Ooh.
and kind of creating things that aren't necessarily you, but they're just sort of like you think,
Just
oh, yeah, that's
emulations.
cool, so I'll do that. And sort of saying yes to everything and then getting to the end product and thinking, actually, this isn't something that I like or this isn't me. It can be really hard in the process to say, actually, no, I don't like this, or no, that's not what I want, or taking a step back to think, is this really what I'm after?
Yeah.
That can be a really big one when you start. And it takes a long time to figure out your identity as an artist and what your songs sound like.
Yeah.
But that would be one of my biggest recommendations for Play It Strange people is don't be afraid to say no.
Yeah,
Don't
cool.
be afraid to have different ideas or to say, I like this reference, but I actually only like this reference because of that drum sound.
Yeah.
Let's not do the keys. Yeah.
What about with home recording and your home studio setup? What do you think are the most common mistakes people will make in that kind of setting?
Potentially overcomplicating things.
Okay.
So maybe buying a bunch of gear, but you don't know what it does yet.
Yep.
Not keeping that good gain staging.
Yeah, so gain staging, let's just break that down a little bit because we talked a little bit about that. That's making sure that if you're recording a vocal, right, that the vocal is coming in at an appropriate level.
Yeah.
It's not doing that red thing on the meters.
Yeah.
It means it's coming in too hot. And it's not super low so that the little metering thing is like only just flashing. It's got to be somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah, and when it comes into your DAW, you want to look at the meter in that.
Yeah.
And if it has numbers, you want it to average at -18.
Ooh, is that the goal?
That is the goal.
Okay.
And or you just want it to be averaging in the middle of the meter and not going red.
Yeah.
So if you don't want it to be averaging lower than that because that's when if you do have cicadas or something, now they're as loud as your voices.
Gotcha.
But if it's going red, especially if it's going red in your DAW, you will have distortion.
Yeah.
Which doesn't sound nice.
We don't like distortion.
No. Well, we like it when we choose to have it.
We like it when we can add it.
Yeah.
After the fact. Yes. So that's also comes down to knowing your track, right? If you know that you're going to be singing this verse super quiet and, doing it super intimately, then you'll have the interface or mic turned up to a certain level. And then if you know you're doing a screamo section, if you're doing a metal song or something, then you're going to have it turned down and appropriate for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Gotcha.
totally. So overcomplicating things. Also, perhaps doing too much in terms of the processing in your DAW. So there are things called plugins which put different effects onto the sound.
Yeah.
So you might have an equalizer plugin which changes the frequencies in the sound. Things like compressors which adjust the dynamics of the sound.
Yeah.
But you can also have other effects like reverb, which is like an echo, or a delay, which is a more separated echo. And they're all great things to play around with and add to your recordings. But I think sometimes especially when you're just learning, you kind of just are trying to solve a problem, so you keep adding and adding and adding. And so sometimes the best thing to do is to actually just mute everything that you've done and say, does it actually sound better or does it sound worse? And then subtract from there.
Yeah. It's easy when you're starting out on the DAWs to overcook things, right? And just keep putting on plug-in and plug-in and plug-in.
Yeah, and you're like, well, I had to do... take away 10 dB of 1000 hertz on my equalizer, not only realizing that you added 10 dB and 3 plugins before that. So, yeah.
So recording is the first step, and then you need to mix it. What advice would you give for people to learn how to mix?
So we kind of discussed this with the plugins.
Yeah, we're just starting to get into it. So let's dive right in.
The first thing with mixing, I'd say, is that getting the levels right and getting your panning right.
That's number one.
Number one. Don't touch anything else until you've done that.
And what's panning?
So panning is basically where it is in the space, like left or right.
Okay, because there's two signals for audio, right? There's one is left and one is right.
Yeah, so like in your headphones, you have your left side and your right side.
Gotcha.
So if you pan something to the left, it'll be in your left headphone. Pan it to the right, it'll be in your right headphone. You can also have like stereo audio, so that has two, and that can be in both. And then you have mono, which is just like one channel, and then you can move that around as you like.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's like the first thing when you're mixing is getting those good. And that's where I would use reference tracks a lot. So find a song that you think is kind of similar to yours, and then try to get the level of all the instruments similar to that song.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can start adding in your other processing.
Yeah. And for those reference tracks, you can even just load them into your DAW, right? So you can just flick right back to them.
Yeah.
Just straight away. Yeah, where would you recommend people go to start to actually like learn?
I think getting tips and tricks and learning basic knowledge from the internet can be really good. I think the best way to get good at mixing is just to do it.
Yeah.
And to do it a lot.
Agreed.
And to then send it to people and ask them for feedback. And give it time. So maybe you do a mix and then you don't listen to it for a week, and then you listen to it again and go, that sucks. I'm going to do some more on it.
Yeah.
Online, there are like stem libraries where you can actually get stems and practice mixing on them.
Cool.
So those are really cool if you just don't have the stuff. But if you say, I want to be really good at mixing my friend's metal band and they're going to have all the stuff for me in 2 months, then you can go into those libraries and download a bunch of metal songs and practice mixing them.
That's super handy.
Yeah.
And you can even like just search up on YouTube, right? Like, how do I mix a metal song or something like that? Or how do I mix a song like my favorite band?
Yeah.
And it's probably going to come up with some great tutorials.
Well, there'll be an engineer who will go through how they did it.
Yeah.
And I think with all of that, it's about watching that and taking away from it what you can,
Yeah.
and then applying what you can, and then going from there.
Yeah, if they've used some super flash $10,000 piece of outboard gear, just ignore
Don't worry
that
about it, yeah.
and go use the free GarageBand version of that instead.
Yeah, but the mix engineer might say, I always want my kick drum to have this frequency really prominent in it, and then you know that you can do that for yours.
That's right, with the equalizer.
With that equalizer.
With that EQ. All right, cool. I think that's a good little overview of mixing. Now let's shift and put on our producer cap for a second. What does a good relationship between a producer and a songwriter look like to you?
I think it looks like having a shared goal, having good communication around what people's roles are and the outcomes that you want, and a really trusting relationship where people can bring their ideas forward and feel like they're being heard, and feel like the collaboration is a really sort of even process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the key word, collaboration.
Yeah.
It's it's not someone taking over and making it their thing, right?
Yeah, but it's about figuring out, okay, like, what is the vision of what we're doing and how do we achieve that collaboratively?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whilst also respecting the artist's original vision and what their goal is for the song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's, something that young artists, emerging artists do get scared of. We get scared that producers just gonna take over and make it their thing.
Yeah.
Like, can you talk a bit about how producers can work to remain authentic to the songwriter's vision?
It is important for the artist to have an idea of what they want to and to feel like to be in a space where they feel like they can say yes or no to ideas.
Yeah.
With the producer keeping to the songwriter's vision, it's just about keeping that line of communication open, making sure that you're on the same page, being clear about if there are like problems that pop up. So it could be, we were going to hire this drummer, but they aren't available, so we're going to hire this one, but the sound's going to be a bit different, and is that okay? Or it's about saying, and sometimes this happens, you went out on lunch and I had a whole bunch of ideas, and so I put a bunch of stuff into the song, and I think it sounds really good, but you can still say yes or no to it.
Yeah.
I think it's also trusting the producer's experience. Generally, a producer will have more experience in the process than an artist will.
Yeah.
So there is like a little bit you have to give up with that. Even though artists might say, I really want the song to be this way, sometimes the process that the producer is using will get to that outcome. It just doesn't seem like it at the time.
Sometimes you got to trust in the process.
You got to trust the process, and also trust that sometimes there are a certain order of ways that things need to be done.
Yeah, which might be different from how they're used to doing it.
Yeah, or you might say, oh, the piano seems really quiet at the moment. And the producer says, yes, that's because we're recording the bass right now. And we just want to listen to what the bass is doing. But later on, the piano will come back up. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, you can bring it up in the moment if you are worried about it.
Yeah.
Going in a certain direction, then bring it up and talk about it. And then,
Yeah. And it'll get easier as you become more experienced with it as well.
That's right. Yeah. It will get easier. Okay, so what about if you're a young musician that wants to get into producing for people and they want to be a producer? Where do you recommend they get started for that?
With your friends.
That's it?
So if your friends are making music, just say, hey, I'd love to help you out on that.
Yeah.
And that can be in any way. That can be with writing. It can start with recording a lot of the time. So, let me record you.
Yeah, cool.
And that can be a really good thing because even though it is very easy to do everything yourself, collaboration is great because it pushes you out of your comfort zone. It generally creates higher quality end results.
Yeah.
So just start with your friends.
That's it. Start with the people around you.
Totally.
Yeah, I've found that myself, being someone who's learned how to produce and learned how to make beats and learned how to record myself. Sometimes it has meant that I've siloed myself and just worked a lot on my own stuff. But like you say, through the collaboration, I've really made so many great connections and so much great music.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you'd have a similar thing because you've got the solo projects as well as your projects when you produce for other artists, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think part of the reason I have my project was so I could practice my production skills on my own.
You can try out things.
Yeah, it's a really good way to develop those skills. But if you want to do production in the long term, you need to step out of your own self and collaborate with others.
That's right.
And you can also be a co-producer with your producer as well.
Big time.
So if you're the artist, there's no reason you can't also be a co-producer with someone else. And that happens quite often too.
Yeah. For mixing, do you recommend that the artist always sits in with the mix engineer?
My preference is that the mix engineer does their own thing for a little bit and then the artist comes and sits in.
Fair. How different is it for you as the engineer and producer working with an artist that knows their way around a DAW, knows a little bit about how to record themselves and a little bit about how to mix? How is it different for you working with someone like that versus with someone that, doesn't know their way around a computer at all or a DAW at all?
I think it can be really handy to work with people who do have who know the jargon and kind of have an awareness of the vocabulary and stuff because it means that I can communicate with them really easily. So that can be really handy, but I think for me it's more importantly that the artist knows what they want. One of the things I will say is that sometimes people will come to me, they'll have a problem and they'll come to me with what they think the solution of the problem is.
Okay.
But I think it's really important if you're working with an engineer or a producer, just tell them what the problem is and then what you think they could do to resolve it.
Yeah.
And then you can work through it together. Because that is where if you don't have a lot of knowledge around a DAW, you go to a producer and I didn't even know an example. But essentially, if you don't fully understand something, then that's okay. Just kind of describe what you hear. Yeah. And then your producer can help you.
That's it.
And don't feel like you need to learn all this lingo before you go into studio. If you're working with a producer who has a lot of work, they'll know how to help you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like you say, relying, appreciating someone's expertise when it's there to help you get to where you want to go and trusting in that process and trusting in, a lot of their way to fix something and their way to get to the end result. I think that's...
Yeah, as long as they're getting to the end result that you like.
That's it.
That's the important part.
Yeah. So for those more experienced producers and engineers, how do they take what they know and start doing it at a professional level?
Ooh. When does that start is the question.
I guess when you start getting paid for what you're doing.
Yeah, I guess. But really it is about practice and collaboration.
Yeah.
You become a professional, I guess, once you start getting paid for it.
That's it.
And the only way people are going to start paying you for it is if you have some experience and you're doing good work.
And they like what you're putting out.
Yeah. So that is really that is the line, is just to get that practice in.
Yeah, get those 10,000 hours in, right?
Exactly.
So producing and engineering, it's got a bit of a stigma around it to being a male-dominated field. Why do you think that is, and how do you think we can support Tautoko Wahine to get more involved into this side of the industry?
It's like a historic issue. Way back in the day, engineers, the reason they're called audio engineers is because it was a lab where they'd be wearing lab coats.
True.
So if you think way back then, it was all male because that was not, women didn't do those types of jobs really, or it was very rare for that to happen. And then you kind of got into the era of sort of like rock and roll and studio spaces where that was all male dominated, all of those spaces. And also, those spaces were very, the culture of them wasn't necessarily safe for women to be in.
That's right.
And then so that's kind of permeated over the decades to a field where it is like majority men, just because it's got that culture built up around it.
It's that cycle of boys club vibes.
Absolutely. And also like studio spaces are very isolating, and there can be a lot of party culture incorporated into it, and like late nights.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessarily always been a job that's been available or safe or something that a woman might want to do. And then even if they do, it's coming up against all of those barriers.
Yeah.
And so, but it doesn't have to be that way. I think studio spaces have become a lot more safe and a lot more professional over the past even just 5 to 10 years. And it is absolutely a field that, you know, women, well, non-men can get into and really flourish at. From a skill perspective, there's no reason that women can't do it.
Exactly. Anything you'd want to say to wahine that want to get into the industry?
Yeah, it's absolutely like a field. It's a field that women can get into, and I think it's really important to have sort of diverse voices in the technical roles in studios.
That's
because it allows a broad range of people to be creative. I guess I would just say that like you absolutely can be there. Don't feel like you can't be there.
You can be there and you deserve to be there.
Yeah, and you are good enough to be there.
For sure. That's right. And so there's a few things in the industry that are working towards making this engineering and producing space safe for wahine and non-male identifying people, right? So there's music helps and stuff. That's one.
Yeah, they offer support for people.
Awesome.
Offer like mental health support for people in the music industry.
Cool.
There's places like Soundcheck which are working towards creating healthy workspaces just for everyone.
Yeah. Cool.
And then there's things like To the Front, which is a program to help non-male, so like female and gender diverse people in high school develop as musicians and producers, which is really great. And then we have my initiative Record Enable, which is very much focused on producers and engineers.
Nice.
Because only 5% of producers are women.
5%?
Which is really low.
Yeah.
And so it's helping more people like me get into the space.
That's awesome. And what kind of things are you doing? What's the kind of strategies around that?
So with Record Enable, it's about understanding that we have quite a lot of women now who are very excited about getting into engineering and production.
Awesome.
And so there's like a big bulk of people at that sort of beginner level. And what Record Enable is doing is targeting slightly higher than that. So it's people who maybe have like a little bit of experience and want to figure out how to actually take that next step to go from just like casually doing it to being a professional, to being paid and having a really sustainable career. And so that's where Record Enable targets. And so it's like workshops and recording studios. Awesome. It's helping people buy equipment. It's mentoring and like industry skills, that kind of thing.
And do you just have a website that people can get in touch with?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram at Record Enable NZ.
Cool.
And just recordenable.com.
Nice.
That's the website.
Get on the DMs.
Ooh, yeah.
Get on the website. We love it. One last part-time for you, Em.
All right.
Can I call you Em? Are we on that level yet?
Sure.
Sure. What's one piece of advice you wish you were given when you were starting out in the world of production and audio engineering?
Just do it and back yourself and create things that make you really excited.
Follow
and
the
then,
excitement.
Yeah, and then other people will be excited by it too.
Oosh.
Yeah.
The excitement starts from here, and then the excitement spreads to out there.
Yeah.
And then that excitement comes back and makes you more excited. We love it. Ngā mihi nui ki a koe, Emily. Thank you so much for the kōrero. That does bring us to the end of this episode. So thank you so much for joining us. I've definitely learned a lot and loved hearing about how you do things. So yeah, everyone should go check out Record Enable. And of course, go check out Emily's music projects. Ngā mihi nui ki a koutou. Thanks so much for listening, whānau. Catch you on the next On The Record episode, where we'll keep exploring the Aotearoa music industry. Let's go. Ka kite anō.